Hello, Professor Clement. This is my reflection for EGR401. I'm just going to go over the questions with you. I think the one thing that we did this semester that I will always remember is when you talked about how much Tech Connect meant to you. I really enjoyed the conversation. I thought it was a great example of how glorious God can be through tough times. Um, what is something you accomplished this semester that you are proud of? I'm happy I got to be able to build a good prototype for our application and be able to show that during our final presentations. Um, I'm also happy that I got to write a lot of software project management documents. So I was able to take a software project management course this semester on top of Capstone, and I think a lot of stuff in that class definitely did coincide with the stuff that we did in class. So it was nice to have two examples of how to, work effectively on a team and create a document that will be used for communicating our project requirements, our project proposal, and also our budgeting for a real life application. Um, what was the most challenging part of the semester for you? I think for me, it was trying to balance work, school, and homework. I definitely balanced a lot of other positions this semester, and I think it was a little hard for me to do that. But I think it did teach me some really good time management skills. Um, if you could change one thing that happened this semester, what would it be? I think we could have done a better job at communicating to our client a lot more. I think I could have done a better job communicating to the team at certain points throughout the project. Um, what else? What are the three most important things you learned this semester? Um, I think I learned how to take initiative on things, especially if no one else is working on that certain task. Um, I learned how to communicate amongst the team, even though at times when it was hard to communicate. I still think communication was progressively getting better throughout the semester. Um, and I definitely think I did learn to work with a team that I've definitely like I've known these people for a while. I've worked with them, throughout my undergrad, and being able to work with them on an actual application project or applicable project, that was interesting because sometimes throughout the project we had to put some things aside and try to be as professional as we could, and I think that was a task of its own, especially since we're friends. So it was we definitely had to balance, when it was time to be serious and to focus on the project at hand instead of messing around or doing other stuff that could take us off task. Um, in what area do you feel you made your biggest improvements? I definitely think technically I made a lot of improvements, especially um, on the project, being probably one of the more technical leads of the project because I've had industry experience for the past 8 months between my internship and working at Zybooks. So that's been a lot super helpful because I've been able to communicate requirements and stuff that we could do, stuff that we can't do from experience that I've obtained in industry. Um, so it's kind of, I would say it's kind of setting me up for hopefully someday being a technical lead. And I think it's just a good practical example of where I was strong throughout the semester. Um, what advice would you give students who would be in this class next semester and next year? Um, my biggest advice for students is always, don't take as much, don't take as much on as you cannot handle. You have to know your limit, um, and I've definitely was tested with that at the beginning of the semester, and I've had to say no to a lot of things because I've overcommitted myself. But I guess my biggest advice is don't procrastinate. Always finish the stuff at hand and the task at hand. Don't put it off to later because that can sometimes suffocate you. You always want to make sure that you communicate with people on your team, your advisor, your project manager. I think that is something that you always need to practice because if you're not relaying, you know, the stuff that you're working on or like where you're at on a situation, or even if you're stuck on something, if you're not communicating that to the higher ups or even to your team, you will not get any help, or they won't know. They're going to have expectations on you that are going to be pretty high, and if you're not communicating that you're not done with those expectations, that could end up very wrong, and that can just cause a lot of headaches. And unfortunately, in the industry, that could lose you out of a job, and I don't think you want to do that. But yeah, my biggest advice is don't procrastinate, always communicate, and just try to balance your time well. But yeah, thank you for such a great class. It was a pleasure being in class with you, and I'm looking forward to next semester.